century ago. And the great blues singer Bessie Smith had more than her share of outraged critics.
Come on and save your mama's soul, 'cause I need a little sugar in my bowl. Got a gal named Daisy. Almost drive me crazy.
Rock and roll has got to go.
Almost drive me crazy.
The obscenity and vulgarity.
Indeed, why you don't know what to do to me.
But it was the arrival of rock and roll 30 years ago, raw, powerful music for black adults that was adopted by white teenagers, that really focused outrage.
It is a contributing factor to our juvenile delinquency of today.
You got what I need.
It's a controversy that has stalked acts from the Rolling Stones and the Beatles to Tina Turner.
I want you to give it to me.
A whole generation of Americans was raised on the belief that the Kingsmen's hit, Louie Louie, contained obscene lyrics. An exhaustive FCC study concluded that no matter how the song was played, it was utterly incomprehensible. Yes, rock and roll music has always stirred fear and loathing in the hearts and minds of the elders. In fact, the very phrase rock and roll, like the word jazz, was originally slang for the sex act. But it's also true that the rock music of an earlier time has nothing, absolutely nothing, in common with some of the songs of today.
It's not like the music of the 50s. We need to quit hiding behind that excuse that this is no different. It's very different.
Jeff Ling, a minister who works with the Parents Resource Center, listens to and plays rock and roll, but he's concerned about albums like Be My Slave.
Inside, there's lyrics like, come on, slap my face, the way you gag me, the way you give me pain.
Some women like violent sex, and I think that they have a right to hear about it.
Frank Zappa is one of the few rock artists to come out openly against the labeling effort.
I mean, if it looks like censorship and it smells like censorship, it is censorship no matter whose wife is talking about it. It's censorship.
Beyond the moral issue, there's a pragmatic question. Will labeling keep offensive lyrics away from children or actually promote sales of controversial songs?
Kids go after what's cool. They're going to go to an R-rated movie before they go to a PG over a G because it's cool. And if you censor it, it's going to be more cool to buy the hardcore lyrics.
Are these the kinds of messages you want to send to your young people who are in a formative stage, who often look at rock stars as role models? We think this is very harmful.
Clearly, some of the rock music today is much more explicit than it was 10 or 20 years ago, but our culture as a whole has grown more coarse. Words and images in books, movies, magazines, even advertising is all more explicit than it was 10 or 20 years ago. But given what's happened throughout the rest of the mass media, maybe the real question is whether any attempts at control will have any more chance of succeeding in the field of rock music. This is Jeff Greenfield for Nightline in New York.
Later, we'll be joined by pop star Donny Osmond, but next, when we return, we'll talk with Kandy Stroud, spokesperson for the parents group that wants to rate pop records. And on the other side of the issue, Frank Zappa, a rock innovator who's never been at a loss for words or music.
Among the most successful albums condemned by the Parents Music Resource Center are Dirty Mind by Prince, Twisted Sister's Stay Hungry, which has sold more than 2 million copies, and Madonna's Like a Virgin, a former #1 record which has been on the charts for 41 weeks. This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by Sears.
It seems the more time you spend making money, the less time you have to deal with it. The hours you keep is the reason for the hours we keep. At the Sears Financial Network Center, we're open nights, weekends, every hour Sears is open. With the expert help of Dean Witter Investments, Coldwell Banker Real Estate, and Allstate Insurance. Be sure to stop in at Sears for the expert help that's available when you are. The Sears Financial Network. Trust us to make it work for you.
For over 30 years, Tupperware has revolutionized food storage. Now we've revolutionized food preparation.
Tupperware, now you're cooking?
Introducing Ultra 21 ovenware.
Tupperware? Now you're cooking.
A unique new material lets you freeze, microwave, and even bake at high temperatures.
Tupperware.
Now you're cooking.
Ultra 21. It's guaranteed for life.
Tupperware. Now you're cooking.
Call us for a free demonstration.
Are you concerned about your drinking water? Are you buying bottled water? Culligan's new drinking water system controls impurities and contaminants by means of reverse osmosis. It provides crystal clear, wonderful tasting water for drinking, cooking, beverages, instant foods, and juices, and it costs less than bottled water.
Now get better drinking water for your whole family with the nitrates and TCE taken care of. It's not a water softener, but you get it from your Culligan man.
You make the most of your life. We share the best of the heartland, 'cause we're a part of everywhere you go, everything you do. From the city to the country, with tradition, hope, and pride. The caring and the sharing that Iowans feel inside. We're going to celebrate Live TV, your TV station.
1978, the Camp David peace talks reach an impasse. Carter delivers autographed pictures of their meeting to Bacon for his grandchildren. Bacon's eyes fill with tears. 15 minutes later, the accord is reached. 4585. See how the future began. Wednesday.
His group was called Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention. His underground hits carried such classic titles as Susie Cream Cheese, Brown Shoes Don't Make It, and Call Any Vegetable, plus several with lyrics that we'd have trouble quoting. In the early 70s, Zappa and his group were banned from the Royal Albert Hall in London in a dispute over obscenity. Frank Zappa joins us now live in our Los Angeles bureau. And joining us in our Washington studio, Kandy Stroud, freelance journalist and spokesperson for the Parents Music Resource Center, which is campaigning for a rating system for pop albums and tapes. Frank, give me a sense of limits. Are there any?
Well, first of all, I have to correct something you just said. The suit with the Royal Albert Hall was a breach of contract suit, not an obscenity suit.
Okay. Now let's move to the subject at hand.
Are there limits?
Yeah.
Well,
should there be any kind of limits?
Yes, I think there should, and those limits that you're talking about for sexual information for children are a matter for parents to decide for themselves.
So if parents want to have a better sense, something that in one form or another makes them better educated to make that kind of choice, why stand in the way of it?
Because what the PMRC is suggesting in terms of remedies for the problem are roughly the equivalent of saying, well, this man has dandruff, so we're going to cure it by cutting his head off. Their proposals are really dumb if you take away the aroma and look at the mechanics of what they are, and they're also very dangerous in terms of what they can lead to for violating your right to free speech, your right to assemble, because they want to apply the same ratings to live concerts, and the right to due process for people. For example, if you're a songwriter and you have a song included on an album that gets an X, and through no fault of your own, the album is banned from stores or the sales of it are impinged on in some way, you don't have a chance.
The analogy you draw is a colorful one, but why is it any different, for example, than rating movies and saying if you are below a certain age, you can't go to see such and such a movie unless accompanied by adult, and in some cases not at all, unless you are of a certain age?
Well, I think that in law, when they deal with matters pertaining to the First Amendment, that a lawyer told me this, that you're supposed to look for the least restrictive option. And in this case, the least restrictive option would be this, to realize that rock and roll is not written or performed for people with conservative taste. And there's no reason why the morals or the taste buds of somebody who's married to a DC superstar should be a model to impinge on the rights of people who are not children.
All right, Kandy Stroud, you're a journalist in addition to being a spokesperson for this group, and I'm sure are also concerned about impinging on the rights of free speech. Where do you draw the line? Clearly not in the same direction as Frank Zappa.
Well, certainly nobody's talking about censorship, Ted. Nobody's talking about taking away anybody's First Amendment rights.
Not yet.
And never will.
Come on, Kandy.
Excuse me, just let me finish. I think what's most important is that parents be given some sort of information as they are given in the movies. We're talking about consumer information, packaging, labeling, so that if a parent goes to a record store and to buy a record for a child, he doesn't come home with a record by Prince that contains lyrics about masturbation or incest or oral sex.
Kandy, you've got a bunch of kids. How many times do you go out and buy records for them? How many times do they buy records for themselves?
Not often enough as far as my children are concerned.
I mean, the only reason I make the point is not to draw attention to you, but I don't think most of us buy records for our kids.
Well,
they go out and buy their own.
I do. I certainly go out for Christmas and for their birthdays because they like tapes. And I must tell you that I was just as uninformed as many parents are in this country today, and went out and bought Sheena Easton and bought Prince and bought Frankie Goes to Hollywood for one of my children's friends without knowing that Frankie Goes to Hollywood was about gay sex, that Sheena Easton was about orgasm and arousal, and that Prince was singing about a woman masturbating in a hotel lobby with a magazine.
All right, but let us, Kandy, for a moment, be realistic about kids. And let me raise the point that was raised earlier in Jeff Greenfield's piece, and that is many kids will be, and in fact, I think Donny Osmond was the one who raised it, many kids, in fact, are going to go out, and if they see a PG rating or an X rating or an R rating on an album, they're going to go for the one with the highest rating simply because it's there.
Ted, I don't think so. I think there is no rating system that is infallible. A rating system is only as good as the parents who are involved. If you are going to allow your children to watch any movie that they want to or buy any magazine that they want to, you're not doing your job as a parent. A parent has got to be vigilant about what their children are seeing and listening to. Unfortunately, now it seems that records are going to have to be added to the list of what a parent has to monitor in their home. But I don't think that, certainly the rating system for movies, Ted, has been extremely successful, and I think has been given a bad rap. Kids are not allowed by most parents or by many parents to go out and see X-rated movies or R-rated movies.
All right, Kandy, we've got to take a break. When we come back, we'll be joined by a pop star whom even parents like to listen to, Donny Osmond.
We improved the new Ford Escort in a lot of different areas. We improved it in the area of performance with quicker acceleration. We improved it in the area of efficiency with better gas mileage. We even improved it in the area of comfort, not to mention just about every other area too, which is quite impressive for a car already the bestseller in this area.
Get 7.7 Plus at your Ford dealer now.
We just moved in and have a million things to do. Where should we start?
Ask Sherwin-Williams. It's Sherwin-Williams' biggest sale ever. Save on our best paints, stains, and sprays, brushes and supplies, sprayers, ladders, and tools. Thousands of wall coverings, pleated shades, horizontals, verticals, and floor coverings. Almost everything, all on sale.
Thanks a million, Sherwin-Williams.
Sherwin-Williams.
Ladies Sportswear. Why would one of the largest selections of ladies sportswear be at Burlington Coat Factory? Simple. For half a century, the owners of Burlington sold only coats, and only at wholesale. But when we opened our doors to the public, our customers demanded the same remarkably low prices and large selection in ladies sportswear. So today, the latest fashions and designer names in sportswear are here, as well as the largest selection of coats. Burlington Coat Factory, the next best thing to getting it wholesale.
Newton Furniture explodes existing prices on all premium Sealy bedding. It's Newton Furniture's Buy the Best Sealy sale with fantastic savings on firm, extra firm, and luxury firm bedding. And this includes fabulous savings on Newton Furniture's entire inventory.